Hi everybody, welcome to my kitchen. Now today is the first of an exciting instalment. Mr. Towe reads a story. Now it's quite late in the evening and hopefully most of you are in bed. Year 6 won't be, they'll still be up partying, it's only 9 o'clock. But I'm joined by somebody who's having a little sleep next to me. You might not know. This is Solo. Okay, so Solo's listening to our story too. So I'm going to read you a story that's really, really lovely. Okay, and I'm going to, when I read some stories over the next few weeks, and who knows how much longer we'll be learning at home and doing this, I wanted to read some stories that were really special to me that I loved. Now, the first story I'm going to read you is not a story from when I was little, or even a story that I read to children in my class when I was a teacher. It's a story that I've read quite recently, and it's one of those very, very special stories that, even though it's a picture book, okay, it's a story which people of all ages can enjoy. So that makes it special anyway. So it's not just for people. We sometimes think that picture books are just for children when you're little, when you're very little, and you can't read books without any words as you get older. And that's absolutely not the truth. Some of the best stories and the best books as an adult are books with pictures in them. And this is a really, really special story. It's by a lady called Nicola Davies, and it's called King of the Sky. And when you listen to it, you might hear some themes in there that are themes which resonate with you, and hopefully you'll notice that this is a story ultimately about friendship. And friendship's a really, really important thing. In fact, it's probably the most important thing. But it's also a story about friendship for two people who need each other greatly. And they need each other in different ways. And, well, I won't spoil the story, but let's have a start. Here we go. So this is King of the Sky by Nicola Davies. What I'll do is I'll read the story and then show you the pictures. Okay. So, I'll tell you what I'm going to do, which will make things even easier, is I'm going to take off this bit and put it down here and hope that Solo doesn't eat it. But he's still asleep. We're okay. You might hear him snoring, actually. Okay. I think you might already have worked out that this might have something to do with a bird or birds. Okay. Let's have a look. So there we go, the all-important inside cover. There we go, you can see a bird there. We'll find out what sort of bird it is in a minute. So the story by Nicola Davies, and obviously, and very importantly with picture books, illustrated by Laura Carlin. It rained and rained and rained. Little houses huddled on the humpbacked hills. Chimneys smoked and metal towers clanked. The streets smelled of mutton soup and coal dust. And no one spoke my language. All of it told me, this is not where you belong. Just one thing reminded me of home, of sunlight, fountains, and the vanilla smell of ice cream in my granny's shop. It was Mr. Evans' pigeons in their loft behind my house, cooing as if they strutted in St. Peter's Square in Rome. Mr. Evans' face was crumpled and he could hardly walk, but when his birds flew, he smiled like springtime. I stood beside him and watched as his pigeons soared above the chimneys and the towers up to where the sky stretched all the way to Italy. A lifetime down the mine had taken Mr. Evans' breath away, so he spoke soft and slow, slow enough for me to understand. "I like to see them fly," he whispered, "after so long underground." Every day I came to see the pigeons. "I'm training them to race," Mr. Evans said. "And this one's going to be a champion." He put a pigeon in my hands. I felt its small heart racing underneath my finger, and the push and power of its wings. Its head was whiter than a splash of milk. Its eyes blazed fire. "Name him, and he's yours," the old man said. I didn't have to think. "Re de Cello," I replied. "King of the sky." Mr. Evans showed me how to catch the birds and slip them in a basket. Then we'd wheel it to the station on a barrow. "How far today, then, Mr. Evans?" the railway man would ask. My friend would name a station up the line. 5 miles, 10 miles, 20 miles away, a little further every time. "They don't need a map like we do," Mr. Evans told me. "They're born knowing how to find their way. All they want is a bit of practice." Back at the loft, we'd wait, eating Mrs. Evans' Welsh cakes and squinting up into the light. "Look out now," Mr. Evans would say. "Keep those young eyes of yours well peeled." It never took them long. From places far away, places that they'd never seen, the pigeons flew home, straight and fast as arrows. But the pigeon with the milk-white head was always last. Still, Mr. Evans said he'd be a winner. There he is. There he is. "He's a hero," the old man wheezed, "like the pigeons in the war, carrying messages when they were shot. Just you wait and see." Every day, Mr. Evans grew a little weaker. By racing season, he couldn't leave his bed. So I put the race rings on the pigeons' legs and took them to the station. I scoured the sky for their return and clocked them in. Mr. Evans' bedroom wall was papered with their winnings, but not one for Re de Cielo, my king of the sky. "He's got the wings for distance," Mr. Evans breathed. "Here's the race he's waited for." He handed me the entry form. King of the Sky would go to Rome by train, then race back 1,000 miles and more. I smoothed his feathers, looked into his eye and put him in the basket for the journey. A part of me was going with him. I wasn't sure it would come back. The race day dawned. A storm blew up. Lightning, wind, and rain. I waited for 2 whole days and nights, but the pigeon with the milk-white head did not return. I sat beside my friend's bed and I told him that perhaps the sunlight and the fountains and the vanilla smell of ice cream from 1,000 granny's shops had made our pigeon want to stay. "No," said Mr. Evans, "that will only tell him. This is not where you belong." The old man's eyes blazed fire. "Get out there, boy," he said, "and welcome him." The rain had stopped. I ran out to the loft and squinted up into the clouds. A speck, a blob, a bird, a pigeon with a milk-white head, a hero and a champion. "1,200 miles he'd flown, from somewhere far away he'd never been, steered north and west, finding his direction from the sun and the force that guides a compass needle. Flown until he saw the shape of humpbacked hills, the lines of little houses in the chimneys, heard the clanking towers, smelled the soup and coal dust. Flown down into the arms of the smiling, crying boy, the boy who knew at last that he was home. Well, I hope you agree that that's a really, really lovely story. I always love reading stories like that, with beautiful words and beautiful pictures and beautiful things to think about. And I hope you really, really enjoyed listening to it too. I'm sure there's a few of you who would be really, really sad if I didn't let you say good night or goodbye to Solo. So shall we have a little look and see how he's doing? He might even wake up and say hello before we say goodbye. Solo, say hello to everybody. So, oh dear. I'm afraid Solo's a bit tired. Anyway, it's time for me to say goodbye. I hope you enjoyed that story, and hopefully I'll read you another one soon. Okay, bye bye.